When I was in junior high, I had this brilliant idea. And this idea was I was going to create the world's best sandwich shop. But this wasn't necessarily because the sandwiches needed to taste all that great. It was because of the experience. Basically what would happen is you'd walk into the shop and you'd smell the great sandwiches, you'd place your order, and then you'd walk over to pick up your food, and all of a sudden the man handing you the meal would take a fist and he'd slam it down on the sandwich as hard as he could. Great business idea if you consider the name as Knuckle Sandwiches. And this business idea, along with a list, I swear, is 300 miles long I have on my phone at the time, was just the beginning. I had all these ideas that I wanted to do as far as businesses go. I wanted to become the next big thing. I wanted to create something that people would love. But ultimately, there was something in the back of my head that kept telling me, you can't do it, you don't have what it takes, you're not a risk taker, you don't have the resources, you don't have the time to create a great company. Well, my name is Tim Haynes, and for the next few minutes, I hope to inspire you about something that I've personally learned and am continuing to learn to overcome, and that's about taking creative risks. Specifically, I want to inspire you to take action right now, today, to act on the dreams and the aspirations that you have. The way I'm going to do this is by illustrating 3 examples. Each of these examples you're going to notice are things that you encounter every day in your everyday life. The first problem we're going to talk about is a man who's simply stuck in traffic. The second problem is a man who wanted to melt a chocolate bar. And then finally, we're going to talk about a person, as I'm sure all of you have had this problem as well, who needs to pay his rent after he needs some money for rent. Now, problem number 1, a man is stuck in traffic. This particular man made a regular commute between San Diego and San Francisco in California pretty frequently. Now, for those of you who aren't aware, it takes about 9 hours by car to make that travel. And by plane, it's about 5. So a little bit better, but you gotta realize you go check on the bag and you go through all the airport hassle and everything. It's just not very ideal. Now this particular man, he realized as he was stuck in traffic this one day that there had to be a better way. And so in his car, he realized that I've got this great idea. I think this will work. And so he came up with an idea that I'm sure all of you have probably heard in one way or another. It's called the Hyperloop, and Elon Musk was its creator. Now, the Hyperloop will travel around 760 miles per hour, and for reference, between San Diego and San Francisco, as opposed to a car, which would normally take around 9 hours, that reduces the time to no more than 55 minutes. That's 35 minutes to travel 350 miles. A problem was solved by a man being stuck in traffic. Problem number 2, a man wants to solve the issue of how do I melt this chocolate bar? Percy Spencer was working as an engineer at a company called Raytheon. It was this new engineer, there was this new engineering masterpiece, and on this radar he was working on, he realized one day that this chocolate bar he had in his pocket began to melt. And he realized, it's kind of not hot in here. I don't really know why this is melting. So he grabbed another chocolate bar, and sure enough, it melted again. Well, as he did some more digging, he ultimately created a device that you and I probably couldn't live without. He realized that the microwave emitters coming from the radar allowed him to be able to heat up food in a quicker way. Now imagine your life without the microwave. Problem number 3, a man needs to pay his rent. Joe Gebbia was living as an art student in San Francisco when all of a sudden his landlord came to him and offered him a rent notice stating that effective next month, your rent was going to be increased by 25%. Now, as all of you probably would have had this experience too, he was shocked. How am I going to pay for this? Well, he decided that since he was an art student, he was going to hold a yard sale and sell some of his artwork. And that's what he did. He met a man who was actually traveling cross country, and as he got talking and figuring out where he was staying, learned that he didn't actually have a place to stay. So Joe, being the nice person, offered an air mattress in his living room, something like this. Now, he didn't think he'd take him up on the offer, but later that night, as the stranger was sleeping in the other room, he realized, what am I doing? But then that click happened, and he realized I can charge 20 or 30 bucks a night for this person to stay in my house. And ultimately, this problem that he solved created a business that's probably multi-billion dollars now, called Airbnb. Now, imagine going out on a vacation and having to stay in a hotel. We don't have to do that anymore through Airbnb. Now, what do all of these things have in common? Well, number one, they're probably problems that you've all faced. But I really want to point out that all of the things that happened were an intentional action was taken on an unintentional situation that these people were placed in. None of these people sought out the problems that they encountered, but they created a solution for each one. Now, you're probably wondering, why we're talking about patents. The reason I want to talk about patents real quick is because in the business world, it's a very simple way to measure a business idea. Now, as some of you may or may not be aware, in the early 1800s, the U.S. Patent Office actually closed down, and they said something along the lines of, everything that has been invented, or that can be invented, has been invented. We don't need to stay open anymore. Well, obviously that's changed. In this graph particularly, if you look at the 1900s, about 250,000 patents were filed. Ladies and gentlemen, in the past decade alone, more technological progress has occurred than at any other point in history, period. Now, you can't look at that graph and tell me that the risks that you take or the ideas or the problems that you have can't be solved. I beg to differ. So what's the takeaway? What do you need to do now? Take action today on the risks, on the dreams, on the aspirations that you have. If I would go back, I would have created that sandwich shop immediately. And I think all of the aspirations and the dreams that you have or that you will encounter in your life can be solved today. My whole presentation could be summed up by one simple quote by Jimmy Carter, though. Go out on a limb. That's where the fruit is.